Hi, everyone. Hello. Hey, History X. We got History X. Hey, Eric. Hi, Teresa and Cece. Hello. Again, I'm sorry. I don't know what's been happening with my computer, but I hope this is coming through uh, without being choppy or I don't know. I guess we'll see. Ultimately, we will see. I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit as well. Go Marauders. All right. Thank you, Count Saturn. I like the name. Uh, hey, Brian. So, guys, we released the two videos regarding the Talos missile. And this was a really long process, but it was really well done. So let me give you, of course, feel free to ask questions, things like that. If you've watched both of our videos, I'm looking for volunteers. I was speaking to a guy named David Peart who does some work. David Pert, I'm sorry, who does some work down at the University of the USS Texas, and he might even come up if we can coordinate our schedules, and he would like to work on the Talos as well. So, of course, we could talk about volunteering opportunities, things like that. So, but let me tell you, I was George from the. Sorry, guys, my brain is really rough right now. From the Military Honor Park and Museum, which is the name of the organization and museum in South Bend. He had gotten two Talos missiles, I think in the 90s, and he was looking to deaccession them. And thanks, History X. My connection is decent. All right. And he was looking to deaccession them because he was losing his storage space. All right. Most museums have storage, offsite storage, and he was losing his. And so he had two missiles, two boosters, and two sets of wings and fins. Now, one was going to Mishawaka, Indiana, at the Bendix Corporation. So he had reached out to them, Bendix, I think it's spelled. And they were the final assembly company or corporation for the Talos missile. And so, of course, he wanted to defer and give one to them so they can put outside their entranceway, when they invite visitors and things like that. A lot of factories and plants have that. So he had coordinated with them. And once he got a commitment from them, then he reached out to us. And I worked with him throughout the year, pretty much since February. Maybe once, twice a month, we'd be on the phone just kind of coordinating and talking about it. And I'm just really glad this all came together. As you saw in the first video, I thank the U.S. Navy Cruiser Sailor Association, and they're instrumental. Unfortunately, like many military associations, it's folding. And so this is one of their last contributions. There are 3 cruisers that you can visit in the country: USS Olympia, USS Salem, and the USS Little Rock. And so they're working closely with each of these 3 museums to, I have to sneeze. They're working with each of these 3 museums to divide up some of the things from the association. Pardon me. And there it was. Yes, we are literally live. Yes. And so they're working with each of the cruisers left, and this was their contribution to us, was to fund this what turned out to be about $25,000 of for this project. $4,000 to George and the Military Honor Park and Museum, about $3,000 for the trucking, and then most of the rest will then go to Bidco for the storage, the barging, uh, and the craning onto the Little Rock. And then we have a few $1,000s left over for rainy day or unforeseen issues or problems and challenges that arise. Oh, okay. So let's see here. I see Charlton, was the Talos final stage a pulse jet? Charlton, I will have to get back to you. I am not familiar with that at all. And in my research, I've never seen that term before. So I'll read up on that and make a note. That's a great question. Let me get out. Let me take some notes. Pulse jet. Thank you. I appreciate the question. But yeah, I've done a fair amount of research on the Talos, certainly for videos on YouTube, and just kind of getting ready. We're going to be releasing one of our digital newsletters that's specific and a special edition about this. So I write up the history, starting with Operation Bumblebee, but I've never heard that term before in regards to a Talos missile. So thank you. You didn't drive over the Ken. No, nor did I take a 2-seat Audi TT. So there you are. Where are you going to put the new Talos? I know. Okay, so the question from Teresa is, where are we going to put this missile? My goal is to, on the port side, in the original configuration, post 1960 configuration of the Little Rock, the forward end of the missile house, which is the stowage area, and if you've been and you've visited the naval park, that is the stowage area for the missiles and the boosters. All right, it's actually the last part you see on the tour, just because you enter on the fantail, and that's like the last part. The wing and fin is the last part. So you see the stowage area, which would have been the first part, last. And on either side of the forward bulkheads coming down of the deck house onto the main deck, there would have been two large service hatches on either side, port and starboard. And those would open, and then you can certainly, it was like a Tetris game. And you might need to stack one onto the transfer rail and then actually wheel it out of the missile house to then get other Taloses or boosters around. So they had a system where they would have to shift them from cradle to cradle. And then even as you move forward into the assembly area, you have like a shaker system. You have 5 spots on the top, 5 spots on the bottom, but only 4 actual cradles. And so that one area then on the top and the bottom could be moved, and then they would get up to the launcher rail and then into the wing and fin. So I'm actually long-winded, sorry about that, but I'm actually interested in putting it onto the port side. Now the port side service hatch has been welded shut. At some point, they actually removed it, and now there's just a blank plate that's been welded. I do not know if that was aftermarket, something that we did, or something that the Navy did. So water side with the crane, craning it on, unwelding that blank, the transfer rails right there, using the cradle and sliding it right into the port side transfer rail, and then the booster to follow. There is also some talk about maybe getting them into, I saw I froze. There's also some talk about getting them maybe into the storage containers. That might be a possibility. So as of right now, we have 3 Talos missiles, 2 that are on the launcher, the Mark 7 launcher on the back, that you can see, and then one on the starboard side at the mating station where they would mate the booster and the missile. That would be mimicked on port, or we can leave it into the stowage area. So we have some options depending on the manpower and the ability to shift them without use of the overhead cranes that are in the missile house naturally from time in service. Cece, great question. Any concern about the balance of the ship? No, that's a good question, and I like that. That's a keen question. But with one missile, most of the guts have been removed. No, I don't see it as an issue. The solid fuel on the boosters, that's all gone. So we don't have to worry about extra weight. 2,000 pounds isn't much. I'll stand on starboard and I will balance it out. Okay. Piggybacking on CC questions, how much does it weigh? Yeah, so thank you, Eric. Yeah, I actually have to go deep in my recesses for this. I think at full weight, it was maybe about 5,000 pounds. Sorry, I should have this right off the top. But I don't. So I will get back to you on that. I'm trying to look right now. I have a little page open. For some reason, I remember that it's about a 220-pound explosive, but I can't remember about the actual weight of the missile. I'll play around with it, and I think shipping it was about 4,000 pounds, everything. So if I even can remember that when George and I were talking about it, about getting the class of truck and things like that. So if anyone else has it right off the top, please let me know. Hey, Hoist. Talos is solid fueled booster. Yes, it is solid fueled. Oh, sorry. Solid fueled booster with ramjet engine. Yep, the ramjet needed subsonic airflow. Yep. Okay, thank you. He's answering. Hoist the Jack is answering Charlton's question. It was not a pulse jet. It had continuous thrust through the ramjet. Any possibility of the new Little Rock joining the other ships? Martin, thank you very much. That's a good question. She was decommissioned on the 28th of this month. So, no, I don't think so. Certainly, there's talk that Little Rock itself, the city of Little Rock, would try for her. We have a wide, diverse, being the largest inland naval park, we have a wide and diverse collection of artifacts. But I just don't know if it's the right time with everything going on in the Sullivans to try to get another vessel. And, pier space, things like that. It would be extremely unique in the world. I agree with that, but I just don't think I don't think it's feasible for us right now. Teresa, 7,800 pounds all assembled. Missile, 3,400 pounds, booster for. There you go. Thank you. So that's fully assembled. So things are probably 2,000 pounds now each, I would say, something like that. So thank you. I appreciate it. If you're interested in coming, I know Ken History X is really interested in coming. He's already told me that he will be here in the wintertime helping. Oh yeah, geez, we're already in October. I'm so sorry, guys. As you saw, the condition is the booster is in rough shape. So we have to do some gentle scraping. We're going to wet it, and Bidco doesn't have it. So what they're going to do is I'm going to get a volunteer group, hopefully multiple small volunteer groups, and what we will do is Bidco will have safety training, right? Because it's part of a larger complex. There's other bays, there's trucks going, forklifts, things like that. And the work will actually be done in the bay where you see the missile in the videos. And so we'll run through. It's really just going to be wetting it down, gently scraping with sandpaper, probably even, just to kind of smooth it out and give a surface for new paint. And then actually just touching it up. So the booster will need a lot of love. Of course, all the safety gear, respirators and masks and gloves and things like that will be a necessity for this project. But hopefully, if you feel like joining us, you can feel free. Yeah, thanks, Eric. So a pulse jet, I guess, has intermittent thrust and continuous thrust of a ramjet. Thank you. I appreciate it. PPE, you got it. Does it have a serial number? I don't have any of the original paperwork with it, but if you saw, I zoomed in on the stamp on the part 2 video from tonight. I just couldn't read it. So that's going to be one of the first things I do when I get back there. I didn't have my glasses with me. So I tried to zoom in with the camera. But yeah, trying to find the history of the missile itself, right? Maybe talking to the Bendix Corporation or Naval History Heritage Command. Maybe they have a listing. Maybe it's online. I've only searched general Talos information. The Oklahoma City has a great website for it. Manuals, things like that, things that we might have on board. A bunch of volunteers, Teresa included, who's on here right now, have been doing a lot of the blueprints for the Little Rock. We haven't come across anything Talos missile related, to my knowledge. Just the missile house, the launcher, the electronics, but a blueprint for the actual missile. Now, that would be ideal, to find an actual blueprint for the missile. And maybe, yeah. Okay. I will actually add that to my notes. Thank you for sitting here and watching me take notes. I appreciate it. Okay, Heist, try to buff it out at some point. Oxidation can be removed with proper buffing compounds. Will be amazing. Well, thank you. Yes, absolutely. There are other things that we will have to work on. And if you volunteer, you'll learn about them. Other things that we have to prepare for. Things that were in the missile, not in the housing of the missile or the body, but things that were on the outside of the missile. So let me just say I had to sign a hold harmless agreement for George and the museum in South Bend. And I, just for full disclosure, the wings have thorium on them, or at least they did. So thorium is a radioactive agent. And he and I spoke pretty clearly about what he did to minimize the exposure. And he said he did them 30 years ago and whatnot. So Bidco knows about that, and that's going to be part of the safety training. And I hope I didn't scare anyone off. But so there could be thorium right on the edges of the wings and the fins. And I will be speaking to George again about that. So there is a way of minimizing that, and just by wetting it, so you're not getting the dust particles and things. No red, no red missile itself. We won't be doing that. White, blue. I'm going to see if there's other variations out there, things like that. Do you plan on repainting the missile itself or just the booster? Eric, I think I would like to, certainly I want to keep all the stamping and the stenciling that's on it. I would like to touch up the paint though. So gently cleaning that and then maybe repainting it. I'd like to keep the original. So then you're going to get that awful like box around the original paint. So that's something, obviously we're going to be working towards volunteer scope of work, and then I'll talk to people that may have recommendations about what to do. I would like to keep the original stenciling and stamping that you saw, say, in the second video, but then you'll get that awful box around it with the new paint and the old paint underneath the stenciling. So there's some challenges there, but if we can keep all the real stenciling, that's obviously the way to go. And maybe as it's just being cleaned with some degreaser and wiped down, maybe it will look good enough, which, seeing it live and in person, it kind of really was. Keep all your notes when installed and displayed. Absolutely, CC, thank you. So then how can they be safely displayed to the public? Well, as with a lot of stuff, the thorium is built into the metal. All right, so it's only if you were to like really scrape the metal on the edges of the wings and the fins, and I mean really scrape it down with a heavy gauge sandpaper, and now you're getting all the dust everywhere, that's when it's a problem. When it's in the metal itself and the metal's just sitting there, it's encapsulated and there's absolutely nothing to worry about. So one of the things is how deep would we go? And you saw the condition of the wings and fins. They're in pretty good condition. Maybe that's just going to be cleaning it. But it's, if you're taking a grinder to it or something and you're releasing all of those small metal pieces of dust, that's when it can be a problem. And we don't really plan on doing that. All right. So just gently scraping with lower grade or gauge sandpaper and wetting it is, as of right now, with my talks with Bidco, is the way to go. And then just when you put paint on it again, it just kind of seals it back up. Where do you plan to display the missile? Yes. Okay, Dylan, I'll cover it real quickly. Thank you for joining us. I did speak about this a little bit earlier. I'm looking at the transfer rail in the port, on the port side of the missile house, somewhere maybe in the storage area, or maybe just forward there. I also, so you got the two launchers right on the launch. You got the two missiles on the launcher. You have one being assembled and mated on starboard, but maybe putting them in the transfer rail separately on port would be a good place for it. Are the wings and fins on board yet, or are they still with the missile? They're still with the missile. All right, so I'll be looking for some help to haul them up. That might be step number one, and get them right up into the wing and fin area. Then we can do just that degreasing with them. They really seem very well conditioned and taken care of for their age. And you can see that in the video. The paints, there's hardly any chipping or anything like that. And then putting them right into the ready service lockers and cradles where they could be stored and seen. Let's see, am I missing anything? Naval ordnance such as ammo and missiles have to be inert when they're museum ship or display. No fuel or explosives. Absolutely, and all of ours are. I actually, as a side note, I was working with the Museum of the Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I was talking about our Voodoo and our Fury. I'm interested in getting a P-40 Warhawk, and I was looking to maybe make a trade. Now, they haven't come and looked at the Voodoo or the Fury on our pedestals in a really long time. And they said, no, we're not going to take them back because they need to be destroyed. And I said, oh, it's interesting. Now, the missiles we do have are demilled, but they have mentioned that the airplane itself is not demilled, which I find interesting. So I'll have to go through the notes on that. Yeah, I want that blueprint. That's right, Teresa. Thank you. What else was I going to say? I was just about ready to cover something else. Wings and fins. So yeah, I could use some help hauling the wings and fins up if I want to get a group of 5 to 10 people. And again, The thorium, it's sealed and contained in the metal itself. So only when you're scraping the metal down, I want to repeat that. I want full disclosure for you guys. But we also want you as a volunteer. So I'm trying to let you know that we're not going to be grinding the metal, releasing any of that dust, anything like that. So it's probably the ones on the back of the ship are blue, will mean inert training. Well, not inert so much, but training. Like when you see other projectiles on other ships, right? 6-inch, 8-inch, 16-inch. Their caps are all different colors, things like that. So I'm really going to do a deep dive into the color scheme. It is white. No doubt I'll probably leave it as white, but then having an index of what is blue, what is white. Yeah, most of the photos are black and white, but there are some films from the 70s, and I'll just kind of verify that. Did Bigco give you a deadline? Thanks, CC. No, but this hopefully is going to be worked on over the winter. Obviously, what we want to do is we want to have the barge coming up down the Buffalo River with the missile for springtime. All right, so we're getting ready to open the season, and there it is. Oh yeah. I also wanted to mention about the actual metal container. All right, I'd like to do some work on that. Now that's just metal. Scrape it down, repaint it, and then actually put it onto the deck of the missile house. That's one of the things that I'd like to do too, and that would be a nice display piece for people that are on the top of the missile house. For certain tours that I give, we go on top of the missile house, and then just even from the promenade, you'll be able to see this big tube. So that was the other thing that I told them to keep it because they were going to potentially they were going to scrap it, the metal canister. And I'm glad when I was there filming the part 2, they said, yeah, we'll probably. And I said, oh, I don't know. So they might haul that over. So there's some work on that too. And that might just be, getting some Rust-Oleum paint down and just painting it haze gray or something like that. So just to give it a nice look from a distance. Thank you, Teresa. Did Bidco? Oh yeah. Well, we're going in order, right? So that's one of the things. Other questions, guys? I was going to make this about a half an hour. It seems to be a half an hour now. Any other thoughts or questions about anything? So we'll be putting out a call for volunteers. And then everyone will go through a training with Bidco. And then we'll start the work. So Wings and Fins, got to transport them back to the Naval Park. Maybe for History X, I'll use my Jetta and I'll haul them over there. And then volunteers working on the actual booster, the missile, and then the metal container, and then getting them over for the springtime, even if it's April or May is good. This is exciting. Thank you, Ken. Thanks, guys, for being here. It's greatly appreciated. I hope that gave you all of the information you need. And again, Bidco, for that other stuff, Bidco already knows about it. They're working up the safety details. So please don't let that scare you. It would have been talked about anyway at some point, and it's something that was already built into the metal itself. So it's not like something that we've done, but we can account for it, and we will. So we hope that if you are able, you can come and volunteer, even if it's just for a couple of days. You're out of town. You can, depending on the time of year, you can sleep on board the Little Rock, save some money on hotels, and then get you over to Bidco. It's not very far from us, and then be part of a volunteer group. Oh, Eric, how far is it from Bidco to the Naval Park? It is not far. Bidco is on Catherine Street. All right. So I know you're from Buffalo, so you know where that is potentially. Even we're close to the neighborhood, so to speak. So it's not far. And we can't walk it with the wings and fins, but getting a daisy chain once we get up there, just using some I'll like simple green with some distilled water, dun, 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 wipe them down with a rag and put them right into the ready service cradle, ready service lockers, cradle or locker. I don't know if you've been in the wing and fin or you've seen it. They're just kind of slots and you just slide them in and they lock. So, hi, Pat. Why on earth would Navy Bendix embed thorium? That's a great question. I actually don't know the answer to it. Maybe to protect the metal from like the speed. That's a great question, and I'll be doing some work on that. I think George and I did talk about it, but it was probably back in March when we spoke about this, so I can't really remember, unfortunately. But yeah, maybe to protect the wings and the fins, because he said mostly it's the wings and the fins. So they could travel about Mach 2, maybe about 1,800 miles per hour. So maybe that was an added protective layer for them. Oh, hey, Joe. Hey, great to see you. Just don't get pulled over by a cop and have to disclose here. Thank you, sir. I will not. Joe Greco, he's a great friend of the park, served aboard for a couple of years, and I'd love to get him from California to visit. So, yeah, okay, thank you. The Kraut said it. Thorium is resistant to heat buildup in the wings and parts of the missile. Okay, so I was on the right track, but it was sacrificial material that wouldn't melt at a high ram jet speeds generated. There you go. Thank you, guys. Hello, Joel Constable. How are you? If it has not been asked, how are the missiles loading? Okay, so the missiles will be craned from Bidco on their barge/crane. They'll pull up along the riverside of the Little Rock. Hopefully, the container will go up to the I think that would technically be an O2 level because the missile house is so tall. It just skips O1. O2 level onto the overhead or the deck of the missile house. And then the missile and booster will go right into the port side service hatch that we'll have to unweld and throw it right on. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate Hoist in the crowd. Thanks for answering that. You guys are right on point with that, and that's kind of what I assumed. I wouldn't have called it sacrificial material, but I appreciate that. But I'll remember that. I guess for Joe, maybe that would make the cop back away, too, so that's not bad. Hoist, a rubber coating that would melt on purpose as the missile traveled the air. Boy, I tell you, you guys are great. Thanks so much. Anything else real quick before I end the stream? Okay, guys. It's been great. Thanks so much for your support. And if you're ever in the South Bend area, say hello to George. He's this really nice 86-year-old man who I've been working with, and he can tell a good story, and he's got that Midwestern flair to his stories. And he seems like a really nice man. I've just not met him yet, but I hope to. So if you're ever in South Bend, why is it so hard to remember the name of this museum? Military Honor Park and Museum. Right near the South Bend Airport. Maybe Hoist can go there one day. All right, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Teresa. That's around the rough time. Teresa's comment is around the rough time of the Talos missile. Thank you all, and we'll be in touch, and we'll see you again soon. If you'd like to volunteer, let me know or email the park at the info@buffalonavalpark.org, info@buffalonavalpark.org if you don't already have my email, and it'll come right to me. Thanks, everyone. Do, 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 do.